Welcome, everybody, to episode 14 of the Thundercrafts podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. I am your host, supporting an orphanage in Guam, Josh Kaiser. Joining me today, a man who stepped on his dog's tail, and the dog died, Josh Haddix.
What's good, everybody?
And, of course, a man who walks on water because everyone knows a turd floats, Kyle Hoagland.
Coming at you live from Fargo, North Carolina. What's going on, everybody?
How you gentlemen doing? We are 14 episodes in. Can you imagine? Can you believe it? We've made 14 episodes through Thunder.
I'm assuming you said that on purpose, right, Hoagie?
What?
Yes, he did.
Yes,
the North Carolina.
I said North Carolina on purpose. I know where Fargo actually is.
Okay.
Shout out to all of our Fargo
remember the episode?
Yeah. No, seriously. I do. That's why I was going to bring that up, but then you said it, so there you go.
No, just that's what I do. I ruin your jokes. That's all I need. That's all I have to do.
Yeah, you ruin everything, so
that's fair.
Ain't that the truth? But one thing Kyle cannot ruin is our nostalgia for April 16th, 1998, because It's Thunder. It's the go-home show for Spring Stampede 1998, guys. And I don't know about you, but I am jacked for this one.
You're about to get jackknifed, right?
This guy's ready to get banged.
Or jacked hammered, right?
Right.
That's it. That's all. If you're waiting on me, I ain't doing anything.
All right. Well, then we'll just get right into it. Like I said, it's April 16th. If you haven't fired it up and watched your episode, what are you waiting for? Do that and then join us. We open up. We got a replay from Nitro. It's Sting. He's locking on the Scorpion Deathlock. Apparently, Kevin Nash had a rematch for the world title or something 2 weeks in a row. And as he's doing that, out comes Macho Man with Miss Elizabeth. Macho Man's got that cast on his arm, but he is rocking an Outsiders t-shirt. While the ref is distracted by Liz, Macho Man's going to hit Sting with the cast. Nash is going to drop the jackknife powerbomb on Sting.
And not get arrested?
Well, fun fact, I found this out watching Spring Stampede, because I watched ahead. Sting actually let him, requested that the jackknife powerbomb be no longer a banned move for their match. So that's why
that's nice of him.
That's nice of him,
That was very nice of him. So you think, cast to the face, jackknife powerbomb, Nash is going to be your world champ. 1, 2, Bret Hart is going to come, pull Nash off before it happens. Out comes the NWO. Trash litters the ring. And we are live from Fargo, North Carolina. God damn it, now I'm doing it. North Dakota. That's our opening for Thunder, so it kind of sets the tone. Of course, Tony Schiavone, Lee Marshall, Bobby Heenan, and our first sign of the night, Fargo. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, Fargo brings the fire. Last week, where were we last week? Do you guys remember? One of those schools,
we were.
Maybe? Was it Florida State last week?
We were in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah, yep. They did not bring the signs. Fargo, well done. Any of you Fargonites out there listening, well done with the signs. Our first sign of the night, Ray Traylor rules. It doesn't sound like much of a sign, but Ray Traylor had a sign dedicated to him in 1998. So for that,
and spoiler alert, Ray Traylor does not show up on Thunder. So
no,
and I don't think he shows up ever again.
I know he might be dressing as Big Boss Man at this point. So.
I'll say, see Big Boss Man at this point. Oh, is this? I don't remember when he premiered and
I have to go back and see.
Yeah.
He won't be here, but the commentary team lets us know it's our go-home show, and all the stars are going to be out. And our main event, Macho Man Randy Savage and Kevin Nash will be wrestling, teaming up against Sting and Bret Hart. So quite a main event we got in our hands. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like 14 episodes, this might be the first time we won't get a DQ finish with these NWO members wrestling.
Well,
right?
let's make sure that we correct this. It's 13 DQs and a never happened match. So
it would be 12 DQs and a never happened match because this is the 14th episode.
This is the 14th. So yeah, we're hoping this isn't going to be the 13th DQ or 14th straight no decision.
Fair enough. So moving on, we're going to get into an NWO promo. This is paid for by the NWO and Haddix. This is your boy Buff Bagwell. He's staring into a mirror, talking about how you gotta love Buff, and basically just saying Buff, Buff, Buff all over the place, flexing.
He's buff. He's the stuff, and the ladies can't get enough. There you go.
Have it. And he is in our opening match. He is accompanied to the ring by Vincent, and he will be wrestling Rick Steiner, who, of course, is accompanied to the ring by Ted DiBiase. And this, we're going to see our second sign of the night. Of course, the very common so-and-so fears something. This time it is Heenan fears Eskimos, which I'm going to guess Fargo might be the expert on Eskimos, right up there with, like, Anchorage, Alaska. So I'm gonna say that they know what they're talking about here. And there's a reason Heenan should fear them. Buff Bagwell is just going to be oozing charisma, really pissing off the fans as he taunts Rick Steiner with the dog barking, the classic taunt against Rick Steiner. And Buff does everything in his power to make sure the fans hate him in this match. And every time Rick takes him down, the crowd is loving it. Unfortunately, this match is going to end in a DQ finish. Rick is going to go to the top rope for his top rope bulldog move. But Scott Steiner, out of nowhere, is going to push him off the top. That's your DQ finish. I give this match 2 stars. I wish the ending had been better, but up until then, I thought this, I kind of blasted Rick Steiner as a singles wrestler. I think it was last week's show. He kind of impressed me in this one, so maybe I was a little too harsh on Mr. Steiner. What do you guys think?
I gave it 2 stars as well. I thought the match was okay, and I think Rick, if you give him a guy that's just going to just put him over the whole entire time, because for the most part, Buff was just being Buff and just getting tossed around and selling for Rick. So, it just made Rick look better just because Buff was just looking like a jabroni in there. But at the same time, Buff did get a couple shots in, as well as his funny little antics. So I think the match itself had enough entertainment quality. So I was glad that the DQ did not come from Vincent for a change. So for that, 2 stars.
I give it 1 star and 3/4. Also thought the match was a standard match, nothing special. I thought it was a little quick, but I guess all the matches on Thunder are. I did like that it definitely continued the whole story. Buff versus Rick, and then Scott comes out, et cetera, et cetera. I do find it funny that this is the first time we'll see Vincent tonight as a valet. And you'll find out how many more times we see him.
It will not be just once, that's for sure.
that dude got paid this week.
Seriously.
After the match, of course, Scott Steiner's in there. There's a little bit of a 2-on-1. So Lex Luger's going to come out wearing a cut-off flannel T-shirt and jeans, helping Rick Steiner, help save the day, getting Scott and Buff out of there. And we also
he must have left his white blouse in at the Mall America.
His ring attire was not there. I don't know what that was. I think that might be the first time I've seen that, on somebody other than Larry the Cable Guy.
I was taken aback a bit. I had to pause and be like, "What?"
I don't think I've ever seen someone with a physique like that wearing cutoff flannel. Normally, it's like a fat hillbilly redneck and not Lex Luger.
Right.
We will see our third sign of the night at this point, and it says, "I am the true Reese." And it's by your typical fat, balding wrestling fan wearing a Reese's Cup T-shirt, which I thought was hilarious. Because then it reminded me of how Reese's Cup and all those like trademark candy shirts were like the thing to wear in the late 90s.
I had one. No, I had one. I had a Twix shirt.
I don't know why I find that funny.
I don't know why that's funny. But
after this, we're going to get a promo from Hogan and Disciple. And they basically say Macho Man is not smart enough to be the champion and says, Stinger, I'm coming for that title. So a little bit there. Then we're going to cut to Kevin Nash is going to come out, and he's going to cut a promo here. Hoagie, it's funny, both of you and I had in our notes, Nash is a tall dude and, pretty well, good in good shape. He looked jacked here, like more than normal. Like this is
his
Magic
shoulders
Mike,
were
Kevin
gigantic.
Nash.
He looked like Brock Lesnar from the chest up. It was nuts. Like he just looked like that dude was just going to the gym a lot. And I don't know, maybe it's because he's actually wearing his like ring attire. So, or he looks like he's wearing something that would be befitting of a guy who's got a good physique. Because sometimes you'll see either Kevin Nash wearing
Adidas track pants and like backwards hat,
right,
and a baggy T-shirt or something.
Yeah, like he's going to Walmart or something. But today he actually was wearing something that would show off like the fact that he's in very, very good physical shape right now in 1998.
Just monstrous looking. But he talks. Of course, this is where he makes that comment about Hogan thinks he walks on water, calls him a turd. Then says Bret Hart made a big mistake messing with Big Sexy. And he basically tells Hogan, of course, they have that back match this Sunday at Spring Stampede, and says, Hollywood, you have one chance to stop Armageddon. You better join me in this bat match or I'll drive a stake through the heart of your career. So Nash is just really...
I think Nash could cut a hell of a promo. I enjoyed it.
Oh, Nash is... When Nash
like
is
he
on,
can be,
he's one of the best when it comes to cutting promo, for sure.
He can be like funny, and then he could do, like, he was like serious. Like, I liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, he definitely...
We've talked about this in the past. Or Kaiser and I have had one. When he was in the WWF at the very beginning, you could tell that he was working on it. Like, it wasn't quite there yet. And I don't know if they put him in a very good, I guess, in a good position to cut a good promo when he was Diesel. But yeah, when he's on, like, I mean, he can cut a promo like anybody.
Absolutely. But then he proceeds to say that does an extra shout out to Sting and Bret Hart. It says WCW doesn't make the rules, so I'll see you in that tag match tonight. Which I felt like was kind of an oxymoron because it's like they already made that match, so aren't you just accepting that they do make the rules?
It sounded like he declined. He's like, "No, I'm not doing that match. I'm not following your rules. Oh, by the way, I'm making my own match. It's the same one."
Yeah, it was kind of weird there at the end, but otherwise a pretty good promo from Kev. After this, we're going to get a Bret Hart promo where he basically gives Macho Man some advice and tells him to be his own man. He doesn't have to be with the NWO and says, if you play with the pigs, you're going to get dirty. So, classic Bret Hart promo right there.
and exactly the right amount of time we wanted to see him on TV.
Right. In a promo aspect.
In a promo package.
Specify there, yes. We're going to get our fourth sign of the night at this point. It's going to say Deport Eddie, and then in big letters underneath it, Nucleus. I don't know what that means.
Well, the nucleus is the brain of the cell or something like that. I don't remember.
Apparently, you don't know either. So
it's been a long time since
we needed to deport Haddix. Apparently,
right. After this, we're going to get 60 seconds of Goldberg. It was probably a little bit longer than
77 seconds of Goldberg.
And all it was highlights of every spear, jackhammer, and jobbers, and the Goldberg face. Of course, hyping Goldberg up, who is coming out at 72-0. He's in his next match. At least 16 of those 72 wins are against his opponent tonight, Barry Darsow. And they want to let you know, Spring Stampede, the match is set. We kind of alluded to it last week. The challenge was thrown down, but it's been kind of hinted at for a couple of weeks. Goldberg has accepted Saturn's challenge. It is Saturn versus Goldberg at Spring Stampede. Haddix, you had in your notes here, you're familiar with the Goldberg security entrance where they kind of knock on it and it's like 5 minutes for him to get to the ring. When they start that. It's a little bit later. I don't know. It's not much later from now, though. Probably within another month or so, I would say.
I'm assuming it's when he becomes a champion.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's before he becomes world champion, though.
Okay. I guess I was assuming. I was assuming that because it would make the. Yeah, I guess we will find out. Yeah.
Of course, they do remind us in this match, throwing your opponent over the top rope is not a disqualification, which is still an amazing thing that we have to be reminded of in '98. This match is short. Of course, you're going to get your spear. He's taking him to Jackhammer City, and this is going to be your Thunderburst Slam of the week. And for me, it was a 1.5 stars. It was okay. It was, even for a Goldberg match, wasn't the best. Kind of a little sloppy at times. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
I gave it a 2. I would agree with you. I was going to give the standard Goldberg match as always. And although I think the sloppy moments were Darsow, I feel like he looked. Not that I don't know if he was a great wrestler or whatever, but
the dude ain't nimble. Let's put it that
he looked like shit in this match. Yeah, but the only reason I bumped it up to 2 is because, and you've alluded to this in past weeks, but Goldberg is over as hell right now. I mean, the fans go nuts anytime he does.
He has that hacksaw pop for sure,
and I feel like it's rare to put somebody on an undefeated streak like this, and people just absolutely just buying into it. You know what I mean? Like, typically people are like, "Oh, okay, no one's that." I don't know. I feel
he had a great look, and he just destroys the shit out of people quickly, and fans
I really enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoy it. The fans love it, so that's why I bumped it up to a 2 because. He's not doing much, energy. But everyone's loving it. Yeah.
Yep.
I gave it a 1.5 stars. That's a Goldberg being Goldberg match. And I also did get a shout out to Brain for having a midget joke during the match. So appreciate that as well, Enid.
You know, he's count on Heenan to not be so PC. After this, we're going to get another quick Hogan promo where he says he made wrestling and he made Kevin Nash, which I think Vince McMahon would have something to say about that. But
I'm pretty sure Nash. I think Nash would probably jokingly say that he helped elongate Hogan's career when he went to WCW.
Absolutely. If you notice, and I guess we could just say it now, we can bring it up later, it's not a big deal. Last week we had or at least I had a problem. I think, Kyle, you were okay with it. Haddix, I think you were on my side, or maybe you didn't have an opinion on it, where they kept showing promos of Nash and Hogan from the previous Nitro, like before every commercial break, they'd show like another snippet of what they were saying, and I went the whole show, and I'm like, just either show the replay once or not. Yep. And they're doing the same thing this week, but instead of like the promos from Nitro, it's just random promos like that they cut backstage that they're just snipping and sprinkling throughout every commercial break and in between matches. And I don't know, like they're so quick that I'm kind of, if it just happened once, I'd be okay with it, but like it's happening all the time. And like by like the third or fourth Hogan one, I'm like, I'm kind of sick of it.
I think my whole thing about it is that if it was at least interesting, I'd be fine with it, because usually they're doing these when they're cutting away from the ring. They're going to commercial break anyways. It's a quick 8-second soundbite. That doesn't really bother me. I think I'd have more of a problem of it if I think it's actually more interesting because of the fact that they're splitting it up into 8-second things, because he's talking about one person for 10 seconds, another person for another 10 seconds. If that was a whole entire promo, that would just sound janky and weird. And so I'm okay with it because of where they put it when they're going to commercial anyways.
It keeps Hoagie's attention. He likes those quick, short promos. So that's why
he's eating his Twix.
After this, we're going to get a Raven DDP feud package promo where they kind of remind you of what's been transpiring between the two of them, as, of course, they're leading to their United States title match at Spring Stampede. Hoagie, I think you liked this more than I did. It wasn't that I even thought it was bad. It just reminds me of how much better I thought WWF was at doing these promo packages. And, like, I mean, that's one thing. When I watch old pay-per-views for WWF at the time, I love those recap promos they threw together, like where this feud started, how they led up to it. I always thought they were phenomenal at that, and I don't think WCW
they told more of a story
near that. Yeah,
these are sound bites and diamond cutters. I get it. Like that. The only thing I was okay with it to the sense of like, it's not like the reason why these guys hate each other is because of this, and now it'll culminate at Spring Stampede. That's more of a WWF promo back in the day, and then you'd have a couple of sound bites in between. Usually, what the hell is the guy that tried to teach us how to order the pay-per-view and buy T-shirts? But
Todd Pettengill.
Yeah, Todd Pettengill. It's kind of like he would do those kind of packages, but I'm okay with these because it's for the most part just the wrestlers talking and then kind of telling a story through
There's no narration. It's just literally
there's no narration.
Promos they cut during the feud and scenes during the feud.
I would have been totally fine with it if they didn't. At some point, somebody thought it'd be a good idea to show Diamond Dallas Page botching a diamond cutter on a table on Raven. Dude, it looked horrible.
I can't. That's so funny you brought that up, because I literally was about to when I was watching that was thinking, you can't diamond cutter someone through a table unless they are jumping off the rope or something like that. Because
that was the Triple Jeopardy match at the last pay-per-view where that happened, and
that was so bad.
It was bad. It was ugly.
And if it was ugly, why put it in the damn promo? That ruined the promo.
Great point. I don't know. WCW for you. After this, Tony Schiavone is going to be interviewing J.J. Dillon. Apparently, Rick Fuller was announced at this point, but we have more important news to discuss at this point, so they kind of ignore him. Nitro, this Monday night, the United States title will be on the line. Our 73-0 Goldberg is the number one contender. I don't know. Sick Boy was a number one contender, and I feel like he did a little bit more than Goldberg does to deserve that. Maybe just me.
Goldberg needed to win at least 25 more matches before he got up to Sick Boy.
Exactly.
Are we supposed to believe also that Saturn's going to beat Goldberg at the next pay-per-view, and then Goldberg's going to get a title match?
That's the one part. Like, I will give them credit throughout this show. They kind of throw up both aspects. Like, what if Raven wins? What if DDP wins? So they're open to the idea that Goldberg could face either of these two people, right? which makes perfect sense. Goldberg's not feuding with either of them right now, so either of them would be a good opponent. But to your point, there's no way in hell he's going to lose to Saturn on Sunday if he's got a United States title match.
Well, the better announcement would have just been, hey, the match between Saturn and Goldberg is for a number one contendership for the U.S. title.
Yes,
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. But, to your point, Kyle, you put it in your notes, they do the same thing when it comes to Goldberg's first world title match. They announce it out of nowhere on Thunder this Monday. He's got his title match. So it's kind of interesting how they do it as a way to strum up interest for the upcoming. I mean, you saw how much Goldberg is over. If you know he's got a title, his first title opportunity Monday on Nitro, you're fucking tuning in, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
I also watched Monday Nitro to see if they would talk, because another thing that they did, and they did it here too, was did they say something on Nitro saying, hey, tune in on Thunder because J.J. Dillon's going to have a huge announcement on Thunder? And they did. They did say that something involving Goldberg is going to be announced on Thunder. And so then we watched Thunder to find out he has this U.S. title shot next Monday on Nitro. They did the same thing. They did the same thing when he would later fight Hogan. They talked about it on Nitro, saying there's a big announcement about the U.S. champ Bill Goldberg that we think everyone's excited about, but we're not going to tell you right now. We'll tell you on Thunder once everything's been signed. And I'm like, just tell us it's the world title. I mean, what else is it going to be? And it was. It ended up being. It felt like deja vu because it was Tony Schiavone talking to J.J. Dillon on Thunder, talking about Goldberg getting a title shot.
I don't remember the Nitro lead up for that. I thought the big thing was it just came out of nowhere on Thunder for the world title, but I might be wrong there. But we'll see. Of course, he's got his match. We'll see if he's able to win that United States title next week on Thunder if he's a champ. And then J.J. Dillon ends this by saying he's also not sure what to expect of that bat match. So really hyping us up, J.J., for the bat match at Spring Stampede. After this, the television title is on the line. Booker T defending it against Rick Fuller. Of course, we get our fifth sign of the night at this point, and it's Pump It Up for Booker T. So nothing like the predominantly white Fargo, North Dakota, really pumping it up for Mr. Booker T. Keep in mind, Booker T has a no time limit television title defense against Chris Benoit, which has been being pushed for weeks now. But this could be Rick Fuller's match against Chris Benoit if Booker T loses here tonight. And I love the way they tell us not to discount Rick Fuller because he almost had Lex Luger in a recent match till he tapped to the torture rack, which I feel like is saying like Barry Dorso almost beat Goldberg until he got his shit kicked, speared, and jackhammered. Like, he didn't win, right? So,
yeah.
This match is, I would say, as far as enhancement matches go, one of the better ones we've seen in a while. Booker T is going to win this. He's going to get all of his good moves in. The X kicks, Binaroonie, the raising the roof, the missile drop kick, his little spine buster.
The 110th Street Slam, all right, get it right.
Yeah. For me, it was 2 stars. I thought it was a good match to pump Booker T up, if you will, for his match against Benoit on Sunday. That said, I'm the lowest on it. You guys really enjoyed this match.
I did. I gave it 2 3/4. I actually would have rated this higher if this was just a non-title match. I hate the fact that you have to have a title defense every time you wrestle. I feel like it delegitimizes a match when you already have a match coming. If you want to do that, that's fine. But don't have this match you're promoting for 4 or 5 weeks with another person that you're obviously you have much more invested into. So that's weird to say that I would have probably rated this a 3-star match because of how good of an enhancement match this was. I thought Rick Fuller looked really, really strong. And Booker T, what you said, all of his greatest hits were put in here. And really, Booker T just looked he was throwing around this 300-plus pound guy around, too. Like, Booker T just looked jacked fighting him.
Yeah.
So usually when you fight a guy like Rick Fuller, you're trying to keep him on the ground, or you're doing blows to the head, and
you could say you'd have your hands fuller with him, right?
Yep, correct. But Booker T basically just did all of his offense. That spine buster was probably one of the best spine busters I've seen on Thunder so far.
Do you have a ranking of spine busters on Thunder? I'm just kidding. I'm just curious.
I mean, I'll do you want do
Can we get a David Letterman top 10 spine busters on the first 14 episodes of Thunder from you?
We'll have a special episode
This
of
one
Thunder
sets the
Crash.
bar. This one's number one until further notice.
Fair enough.
I gave it a 2.5 star. I also enjoyed it. Maybe it wasn't as high as Hoagie, but I did agree with a lot of the stuff he said. Booker T looked great. I might have rated it that high for that spine buster. It almost looked like he was gonna drop Rick Fuller backwards, like he messed it up, and then he
It looked like an Alabama slam a little bit.
Yeah,
it was nuts. Like that was very impressive, and he seemed to do it pretty easily. So I did really enjoy it. I thought it was a pretty good match. To buff Booker T for the next
Pump him
pay-per-view.
up, dude. Pump him up.
There you go.
And also the crowd, when he did that spine buster, like the whole crowd like lost its mind.
Did they agree with Hoagie's top 10?
They loved it.
This Fargo crowd, they were pretty good all around. I was proud of our fans in Fargo. After this, we're going to get a black and white promo between Hogan and Disciple now, where he basically says he still should be champion.
Good job,
After
Hoagie.
this, we get kind of a replay of what happened between Macho Man Hogan and Kevin Nash last week. What happened to Macho Man? Of course, he got attacked or run over by the Viper out in the arena parking lot. They're pushing, of course, that turmoil between Kevin Nash and Hogan. And Hogan, of course, cutting a promo where he said he was caught in traffic and hit a speed bump, if you will.
Don't you guys think it's kind of weird that Sting being the world champion is like the third or fourth most interesting or most pushed storyline in the company? Everything is revolving around not Sting.
This whole thing, I mean, keep in mind this started, Sting was on that all of 97, basically didn't speak, finally had that match against Hogan that everyone was waiting for him to win. He wins with that fast 3 count, or Hogan had the 3 count that didn't. The whole controversy there, it gets prolonged. By the time Sting wins the title and actually has it, I feel like they lost all the momentum they had built up for Sting for a year. And it's just kind of like he gets lost in the shuffle. You're right, Kyle. Like I feel like they just totally mishandled Sting in 98.
I agree.
After this, we're going to get Tony Schiavone's out here. He's going to be a busy man today. Him and Vincent both earned their keep today as we go throughout the rest of the show. He's going to announce another big match. I know we're only days away for Spring Stampede, but we got another one to add to this card. Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell are going to be wrestling Rick Steiner and Lex Luger. Of course, this was kind of hinted at a little bit earlier in the evening with the opening match. Out come Bagwell and Steiner. Scott, that is. They are not happy. They said, WCW needs to show me this paper or we won't be wrestling. And Scott Steiner says, everyone in WCW and the commentary, the announcers, the whole thing, they're polluting his brother's mind and about him joining the NWO, and says that their parents don't want to see him fight, so they're really pushing it. And of course, Buff's going to finish this up by saying, everyone in Fargo knows that I'm Buff and I'm the stuff. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't know anything else. After that, Scott Norton's going to come out, accompanied to the ring by the lovely Mr. Vincent, wrestling Chris Benoit. If you guys recall, this was the surprising Scott Norton match that rematch that we saw a couple weeks ago on Thunder that we all loved. Before the match, Benoit's going to take Vincent out here. This is going to be your typical Scott Norton's going to show his power with power slams and shoulder blocks. Benoit is going to hit the German suplex, not let go, hit it again, which is pretty impressive when you got the large Scott Norton. He's going to lock on the crossface. I think he's going to let it go, lock it on again. Vincent's going to stop it, gets the DQ finish. I'm going to give it 2 stars. I thought it was a solid match until the ending, but not as good as their first match.
I give it 2 stars as well. I rated their last one 2.25, and it definitely wasn't as good as that one. I don't know what they were trying to do with the Vincent literally interfered twice there to get him to break that hold. I don't know. I thought it was
well. First of all, he hates Benoit. We all know this. I mean, Vincent wants every way to punch Benoit in the face. So I understand that he tried to get in there twice to stop him.
No, I mean, I understand him interfering, but I don't know, why not just have him interfere the first time and then I don't.
It was strange.
It was weird for him.
It was strange.
It was weird for him to interfere. He lets go, goes back and puts Norton in it, and then he interferes again, and he lets go. Like, I don't know. It was just a weird.
It was almost
ending,
like the timing was off with someone, so they had to like redo it for a minute. It was
it was weird. But the match itself was solid, so I gave it 2 stars.
I gave it 2 1/4. I kind of echo the same thing. It was not a bad match, but definitely not as good as the last one they fought. I think the last time they fought, right, Scott Norton actually pulled off the victory. Once again, Norton does look much more legit when you have a guy in there that can carry Norton. Like Benoit can, when he has his, obviously, Benoit can have a good match with basically anybody. And he's made Norton look great twice in a row. Also, can we just address the fact that Benoit has been wearing the same jersey to Thunder for like the last 4 weeks? He's wearing that hockey, Ontario like local hockey team jersey. Him and I think Bret Hart, and Jericho are all wearing the same thing every week when they're on Thunder. And by every week, I mean I think this is the second time ever Bret Hart's been on the show. But it's just weird. Like, do they not have anything else to wear?
I did notice that they had the same thing on too. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, it's that Gary Hitman or something, or Calgary Hitman.
Calgary Hitman, yeah. Yep.
Right.
I thought it was Gary Hitman until I saw the rest of it the one time. I saw it was Calgary Hitman. So I don't know if that's like a local like hockey team or something up there.
Yeah, maybe they're promoting it or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but we'll see. After this match, of course, Benoit is going to get attacked by the NWO. This leads to Booker T coming out for the save, which Benoit is not happy with. There's a shoving match there. It seems to be pretty typical with what the story they're doing is. One saves the other after a match, and the other doesn't appreciate the help.
AKA the same storyline of DDP and Benoit. Like they just recycled the same storyline when Benoit was going for the U.S. title.
Yes. After this, we get a Bret Hart promo where he says Nash is scum and Hogan's worse. And that's how it ends. This is going to cut to our Saturday night promo for the week. Sometimes I feel like they're not even trying, and this is one of those weeks where they just let us know Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Barbarian, Reese, The Flock, as well as Scott Steiner will all be present. So if that
how many people cared that Reese would be there? I mean, I feel like anybody else, they could have just been like, The Flock. Just say The Flock. No one cares about Reese. Unless it's the guy in the real Reese who's in the crowd holding the sign.
I don't recall ever seeing Reese wrestle in a match.
He wrestles Goldberg. I think a couple weeks from now he wrestles Reese.
Well, I'll be looking forward to that, I suppose. After this, Tony is back in the ring. He's here to interview the Giant and Rowdy Piper. Of course, they've got that bat match coming up on Sunday. This is where we're going to see our 6th sign of the night. It says Piper leads off. Giant bats cleanup, which doesn't make sense because there's only 2 of them. Nash goes deep. Hogan is smashed. Out of the ballpark. Holy cow.
You read that well.
I read that exactly how it was written on
I feel like there's a lot to unpackage.
There is so much to unpackage with that one, and I loved every part of it. It was almost like a haiku meets somebody who doesn't know all of the baseball terms meets somebody who's really excited for a bat match. And then we got our 7th sign of the night, which says, Raven, go back to your gut pile. Which you can... I feel like
I need to look up gut pile.
You can Urban Dictionary gut pile, if you'd like, and let us know what you find out. Meanwhile, I'll discuss what happens. Giant's going to be walking down to the ring. Piper's sitting on his shoulders. It was very impressive to see Giant make it up the stairs and into the ring with Piper on his shoulders. He struggled a little bit, and then he kept him on there. I'm like, God damn, that's not easy to do. And he made it look fairly easy.
Yes.
Piper is going to mention a whole story about David and Goliath. I don't think he realizes that them having the Giant would make them Goliath. Yeah, I don't know if he realized that. We see our 8th sign of the night at this point. It says, where's the bathroom? So not all of Fargo's with it. Piper's finally going to get off Giant's shoulders at some point, which is a little awkward of a set down. So I don't know. I feel like Giant hurt himself or something. Yeah. He said he has, of course, Piper's going to cut on Kevin Nash, and he says, what's the opposite of big sexy? Pee Wee Herman. So, good old Piper there. And he's going to end this by saying, let's see who hits a home run. And Hoagie, I think you enjoyed the way he closed it out with a line that you wrote on your notes. Something about, you bring the balls, we'll bring the bats.
I mean, it was just something that it was a lot of just weird, cheesy 80s shit. And then we'll bring the bats, you bring the balls. I just like the way that he closed it out. Like, I think the whole promo was a little outdated. Like, kind of like, every once in a while we've been kind of giving praise, but also being a little cheesy when Rick Rude cuts a promo. I think Roddy Piper was kind of teetering that same, line there a bit, but he closed it. He closed it well, so I had to give him props for that. Also, a gut pile is literally a pile of guts.
Nice.
Oh,
so I just want to let you know, I looked up the franchise history on the Calgary Hitmen. They were founded in 1994. It was organized. The guy who started them was Graham James. He left his position as a coach and general manager of the Swift Current Broncos to found the Hitmen in 94. He organized a group of 18 investors to the club, including NHL players Theoren Fleury, Joe Sakic, along with Bret Hart, who is one of the owners.
There you go.
So there you have it.
I figured there had to been a reason why they were allowed to wear those, because it's just one of those things where it's like, there's always been some strict rules, especially in the WWF, about you're not allowed to wear shirts that are not your brand. That's not like WWF.
Right.
I thought WCW had something similar to that, which is why
I think Bret Hart owns the name Hitman or owns the rights to that, because he brought it over from WCW, which I think Haddox, you had asked about recently, so that kind of explains maybe why that worked. And just to let you know, they won a championship in 99 and 2010.
Big year.
So
wow.
Almost 10 years ago. We'll have to celebrate the 10-year anniversary next year.
There you have it.
20, sorry.
Yeah, well, goddamn. Getting back to the matches on hand, Super Colo will be wrestling Kurt Hennig. I was a little surprised when I saw this. Of course, Kurt, accompanied to the ring by Rick Rude. Psych, Rude is going to tell Lee to stagger on out of here, which made me chuckle. This is when we see our ninth sign of the night. It says, "Bring back Warrior." Fargo, I'm going to blame you for this one. I'm going to blame you that this sign is the reason that Warrior came back and Halloween Havoc 98 happens.
Dude, spoiler, man. Dude, Haddox doesn't know that.
Big spoiler. Big spoiler.
Yeah, that's true. I did not know that.
Well, be ready for Halloween Havoc 98, dude. That's all I'm saying.
Be ready now. You'll need the time.
While this match is happening, did you guys notice those two fans that were running around rampantly, giving everybody the finger?
Well, I did not.
I did not either. When I saw the notes, and I'm like, I feel like for me, I don't pay too much attention to the crowd. I'm glad you do, though.
It just really distracted me. I don't know. As I'm watching this match, I remember thinking, like, every week Rick Rude has interfered and helped Hennig win the match, and I'm like, God, it's Super Colo. Rick Rude should not help Hennig win this match. Thankfully, he doesn't. Hennig is going to win with the Hennigplex in a standard squash match. I give it 2 stars. It wasn't much of anything, but just thank God Rick Rude didn't interfere in that one.
Exactly how I feel. This would have not looked good for Kurt Hennig if he needed help to beat Super Colo. It's almost like on the level of like Lex Luger needing Jimmy Hart's help to beat Hacksaw Jim Duggan or something like that, or when he was on his little like heel, half heel, half face type of weird thing he was doing in 95, 96. But I give this 2 stars. Kurt looked really good. It really is a shame that they don't showcase Kurt Hennig more. I know he's a little bit on the a little bit past his prime at this point, but the guy can still put up a good show and make a good match if you give him the right talent with him. And I'm okay with him winning as a cheating heel, but I also feel like most of the time he doesn't even win the match. It's usually a DQ loss because him and Rick Rude usually like use weapons or handcuffs or whatever the case may be. So I was just glad that we actually got a clean win.
I give this 1 3/4, and I know you guys and I disagree on squash matches. I just didn't see the match. Like he doesn't have a storyline going on, especially with Colo. and this does nothing. I don't know.
If you're squashing a guy, you don't need to have a thing.
And I guess that's true.
But I mean, he's saying, what's the point in squash matches?
Yeah. So he squashes this guy in essence to show that he's a better wrestler, but it does nothing. Like I don't know. I guess I just didn't see the purpose of this match, which you don't.
I feel
need
like
to
wrestlers
have,
can't always have. You're not going to always wrestle like Hennig can't always wrestle Saturn and.
Well, no,
DDP
and I'm okay with him wrestling Kalo. Like, although it doesn't make sense, I think I would have liked this match better if it was just a regular match where they both got their shit in. There was some highs and lows. Like, so I don't know.
You don't just understand the idea of just one guy dominating another guy.
When it doesn't mean, like, I'm okay when like Goldberg does it, right? Or even I'm okay, and we'll talk about the Saturn match later. But I just don't get it in this situation when
I think every once in a while there's a guy like, to me, Hennig has been every week like winning by shit heel tactics, and at some point with Rude interfering, like at some point he needs to be able to win on his own to help justify that he is a good wrestler and has some talent.
And I could see that. I don't know why you go from him winning by cheating to him just absolutely blowing somebody up. That's the weird part to me. But I think we kind of disagree a little on a squash match and shit like that. So
it's still residual. This is still residual stuff from like the way that old wrestling was booked.
Yeah,
in the world of primetime television, you
anymore.
almost want to have everything to coincide with some sort of progression of a storyline. This is 1998. Not everything has a storyline.
And I think I feel like, and again, I'm maybe rose-colored, but I feel like WWE did a better job back in the day of progressing things with storyline, and so maybe I'm being unfair or whatever.
I really don't remember many squash matches in 98, 99 in WWE.
And maybe that's kind of my disconnect, is because I'm not used to it type of thing.
Well, I think what they did too back then, and I don't mean to keep on, we're dragging on this Kurt Hennig thing, but back then they had so many different stables that were feuding with each other. So like WWE, like Raw, would just have like a Nation member taking on DX member times 3, and like that would be like half the card.
Keep in mind too, this isn't. We're not watching Nitro. This is not their A show. So I mean, we'd have to go back and see how Sunday Night Heat was run, right?
Yeah.
And see. Was X-Pac beating up on
that's true.
somebody.
Usually you're watching Val Venus take on Mosh from the Headbangers. Yeah, right. I get it.
And I guess we don't need to spend more time. I just think there's a little bit of a different thought process there, which is
fair enough.
So, yep.
Of course, we're going to get another Hogan promo after this where he says DDP doesn't want a shot at the title and don't mess with Mother Nature. I kind of thought it was random that all of a sudden DDP is being thrown into this entire promo at Hogan's cutting and talking about the world title picture, but here we are.
I know why he's brought up. He's brought up because on Nitro, DDP cut a promo that said if Macho Man can't make it to Spring Stampede, he would be more than happy because he's the U.S. champion. He thinks that he should be the ipso facto number one contender because he's the U.S. champion.
And according to Tony Schiavone, that's how it goes, man. So
according to that never happening.
Right. After this, the Cruiserweight title is on the line. Chris Jericho is going to be defending it against Chavo Guerrero, who's accompanied to the ring by Eddie Guerrero. Of course, I always love, yet again, title on the line, Jericho in a big feud with, I wouldn't say big feud, but in a feud with former television champion Prince Iaukea. But, Chavo, I guess, will defend that title if he beats Jericho. This match is pretty back and forth between Chavo and Chris. Jericho's going to lock on the Lion Tamer. Chavo's going to grab the ropes, but Eddie's going to slap his hand a couple of times to get him to release that hold on the ropes. This is going to end with a tap out. I give this 2.5 stars. It was a quick match, but I enjoyed it for what it was, and I thought they were able to tell a good story here with Chavo and Eddie.
I gave this 2 3/4. I actually almost gave this a little bit higher, more because I feel like this is the first match, at least in a while, where the wrestlers and the ref and Eddie on the outside all worked well together. Nick Patrick set himself up so that he didn't see Eddie slapping his hand away, whereas most of the time the ref sees
Mickey
everything.
J, where he watches
like the ref watches everything and just decides not to call DQs when they want. Like, this is what I was used to seeing in WWF back in the day, was they properly distracted the referees. That way it made it more believable. So yeah, although the match was quick and nothing real crazy happened in the match, I just thought it was a well wrestled match, a well-reffed match, and I love me some heel Eddie Guerrero, that's for sure.
I gave it 2.25 for the exact opposite reason, Haddix. I thought this wasn't a very good ref match at the end. If you're not being distracted at all, you need to be in the correct position to know if whether or not Chavo Guerrero can get to the ropes. Like, if you're being distracted, that's one thing. But if there's no distraction whatsoever, and you're trying to see if someone's going to tap, you shouldn't be staring at Jericho's ass. All right, that's not how it works. You got to watch the person.
Ass, dude.
For all I know, he might be.
I was.
And once again, I also rated this a little bit lower because it was for the title, and the commentators really did not give it the attention that maybe this match deserved for it being a title match. But once again, we knew coming out of this that Prince Iaukea was lying in wait at Spring Stampede, so Jericho was going to come out of this with the title one way or the other.
He does come out of the way with his title, but he is going to get attacked by the dirtiest player in the game, Prince Iaukea, who's going to attack him with the scales here. Hoagie, you enjoyed Tanay's quip at this point, where he said, the scales of justice just swing in the favor of Prince Iaukea.
I can only imagine that because they're not on camera, that like they're high-fiving each other when Tanay said that, or at the very least, like Shivani looks at him and just gives him like that smile of approval, like,
well
yes,
done, sir. Yeah. Eddie Guerrero's going to get on the mic, and he's going to talk down on Chavo, and apparently Chavo has a match with Ultimo Dragon at Spring Stampede. But at first, Eddie's going to call him Chris Jericho because he's got Chris Jericho on the mind. But says if he cannot beat Dragon this Sunday, he's going to ride him twice as hard. But if he is able to defeat Dragon, then he is free of Eddie's grasp, so to speak. So something else to look forward to as we near Spring Stampede. After this, out comes Hogan, Bischoff, and the Disciple. They're going to cut a promo here where Hogan basically says everyone worships him. They talk about how he's littered. He has a litter of bodies of past promoters and such in his path. He calls Nash the unsexy, big, goofy spoon. I don't even know how to. I don't know what else to say.
Dude, I'm telling you, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like Hogan flops a lot when he cuts promos, dude. I don't know.
If you take out the word goofy, it is the most awkward thing to call Kevin Nash. The big spoon, Kevin Nash.
The big spoon is not. Yeah, I mean that's enough.
God.
Yeah. And then he tells Nash that he's giving him one last chance, brah. Basically, you better side with
Kevin
me.
Nash said.
Yeah, basically said the same thing. So both of them are basically saying, I'm giving you a chance to be my partner or there'll be hell to pay. So they both have given each other the same ultimatum, which seems weird. He talks about how his new movie premiered this week. He was on Jay Leno, and everyone is jealous, and says that he will be the new heavyweight champ again. Or actually, Bischoff, I think, calls him that. And at this point, we're going to see our 10th sign of the night. It's going to say, Hogan drove over my grandma, with a picture of a car hitting a grandma. So, well done, Fargo. And we cut to commercial with Bret Hart saying, I only care about winning the title, and then proceeds to say, all I care about is as long as I get a fair shot. So he kind of contradicts himself in the same sentence. And then Tony Schiavone's back out here with J.J. Dillon again, and they're asking the question. J.J. Dillon basically says, Macho Man's in the cast. We don't feel that he can wrestle with the cast, and he's going to need doctor's clearance. And they're asking basically who's Sting going to defend it against if Macho Man can't make it. So that's the question that's starting to be proposed. And JJ says he knows two things, and that's Goldberg versus the United States champion on Nitro this Monday, and that Scott and Buff will face Rick and Lex Luger. And then just says this for the title match. Randy has a cast. That makes us nervous. He needs that doctor's release. This, of course, leaves Savage to come out. He's joined by Liz and says, why don't you look for that red and yellow Viper? And says, you don't have any jurisdiction on the Macho Man. And they basically said there was no video evidence. And Macho Man lets you know that he's taking Sting on Sunday, and he'll take the law into his own hands. So
they're okay with him. They're okay with him wrestling tonight, but they're not okay with him wrestling Sunday with a cast on.
Great point.
It doesn't make any.
It's okay for him to use the cast tonight when he faces Sting.
Yeah. It doesn't. I feel like their
but not in
storylines
singles
are so
competition
jacked.
For the title.
Not when the strap's on the line.
Yeah. That just a head scratching moment there.
Yeah.
After this, Bryan Adams, accompanied to the ring by one Mr. Vincent, will be wrestling the Giant, accompanied to the ring by Piper. Giant was wearing red knee pad at this point. He didn't wear it earlier when Piper was out on his shoulders, so I don't know whether he hurt his knee during that Piper segment.
Did he not have that? I thought he did have it on.
Did he have
it
on?
not?
Maybe I didn't notice it before, and I noticed it the second time because Piper wasn't there. I don't know. It stood out to me, and I meant to go back and watch it. I didn't think he was wearing it, but maybe he was. Haddix, you asked about Giant not having music. No, he doesn't have music. That's always been kind of one of his things. He comes out to no music.
He's like the flock.
Yeah, he's an honorary flock member.
Yeah.
Bryan Adams is going to get to the top rope in this match and slip and almost fall off there. They played it off well, but still a botched spot. Giant's going to call for the choke slam. Vincent's going to get into the ring. Another DQ finish thanks to Mr. Vincent. No, we're not going to rate this match because it really wasn't much of a match. And if we were going to rate it, it wasn't going to be pleasant because of the botch in there it was.
Yeah. The only thing that could have been like a decent spot was fucked up.
Right.
So
NWO, of course, is going to come into the ring. The Giant's going to clear house. He's going to look strong. And after this, we're going to get a Raven promo, which Saturn's siren was like playing throughout it. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. It was like distracting. And I remember just thinking, I'm like, why is there like a siren playing during Raven's promo? And then after the promo ends, we found out Saturn is wrestling Silver King, so maybe they queued up the music early. Also, why is Saturn wrestling Silver King? Another one of these head scratching matches. The only things worth noting in this match, Thunder will be on Wednesday next week, and Saturn's going to win this pretty easily with the Rings of Saturn. I give it 2 stars. It was a squash match. I think you're trying to make Saturn look pretty strong as he's got 73-0 Goldberg coming 3 days from now.
I also gave it 2 stars. Very short. In fact, I think I put in the notes that by the time the community was finishing up promoting all the future dates for shows coming up, Saturn was putting on the Rings of Saturn. So it was a pretty quick match that nobody talked about anything going on. But at the same time, Silver King got a couple of nice shots in. He got a nice, cool-looking tornado DDT off, a couple of good reversals. So this wasn't like your Tokyo Magnum getting the business by Saturn like last week. I also love that exploder suplex that Saturn does, and he did it off the top rope this time, which like I said, a really cool-looking spot. And he did that, and he put it right into the Rings of Saturn right after it. So that was a cool way to end the match.
I give this 1.5. I don't want to get back into the whole squash match conversation we had earlier.
As soon as we hear your rating, we all know why.
but again, the weird thing to me is I feel like last week was more of a squash match than this, and I would have understood this week if he had one because he is facing Goldberg, and they're trying to make him look strong. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he beat Silver King pretty easily, but it wasn't to what Hoagie said. Silver King had some offense, whereas last week he just absolutely owned Tokyo Magnum. So I don't know. It just seems weird to me, but I digress. 1.5.
After this, we're going to get a DDP promo, which was mostly him just giving diamond cutters to everybody, which follows it up with Tony Schiavone yet again interviewing DDP. DDP basically says he's even more jacked up to know that if he defends against Raven on Sunday, he'll be defending against Goldberg on Monday night, and says, Goldberg, I just want to know if you can be banged. So
that ages well.
It ages really well. Then Bret Hart's going to cut a promo about how he respects Sting and he's here for him.
He also, speaking of aging well, he also says he really respects Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
He's a stand-up father and husband.
Well, moving along, let's just say.
This was brought to you by Bowflex.
Our main event, it's Kevin Nash, it's Macho Man Randy Savage, joining by Liz for Sting and Bret Hart, and somebody yells Randy Savage. Did you? I think Hoagie, you made a comment about that.
Yeah, someone just like yelled it, but it was in a mic, so it wasn't.
Like
it wasn't Penzer.
Up, but it was like it was almost like someone from the production crew or something yelled Randy Savage. It was like, where did that come from? Very strange. Tony, at this point, is overselling that we are way, way past time. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh, God, another main event, way past time. I expect this match to either not happen or be over in seconds. But Tony says it's not wrestling hee-haw, so we're gonna keep going. And I got to say, this match went on for a little while.
Yeah. Absolutely.
At first it was, Hart and Sting controlling on Nash. At one point, Nash is gonna or Macho Man's gonna be put in the Scorpion Deathlock. Nash is gonna pull him off. Sting's gonna kind of taunt the group as they're outside the ring. It goes back and forth between Hart and Nash. Macho Man's going to break up a sharpshooter. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, God damn, this might be one of, if not the best main event we've watched on Thunder. And yet, the commentary team cannot shut up about Goldberg and his United States title match on Nitro. That's all they want to talk about.
You have 4 world champions in the ring wrestling a good match, and you can't shut up about Goldberg.
Mind you, of those 4, 3 of them are in basically the double main event at Spring Stampede. So you think there's a lot of stories going on, and they want to talk about Goldberg in his match on Nitro. Eventually, this match is going to get back and forth. Sting's going to go for a Stinger Splash, but Macho Man's going to catch him with the cast. Savage is going to go to the top rope for the elbow drop. Here it is. Macho Man, my God. We had the cast. Now he's at the top. He's at the top. He's at the top. For half a second when he climbed to the top, I thought maybe, just maybe, we're going to win. I don't care if it was he hit a cast and used it to defeat his opponent. It would be a great story to tell. Macho Man, goes over the world champ as they lead into Spring Stampede. He's got that cast. What's going to happen Sunday? During that time I was talking, Macho Man is still standing on the top rope. And finally, Disciple runs in with the perfect timing to interfere. Damn it. So close. So very close. Disqualification. That said, 2 3/4 stars. Honestly, it was a great match, and the disqualification made sense. I just thought for maybe 1 second, we might not have a DQ finish for a main event. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I gave it 2 1/4. Just the reason I rated it a little lower is because it was another DQ finish. Although I would have been, I think it was it might have been before the last pay-per-view. I will, one of those okay with a DQ finish type things. If there wasn't a DQ finish every week, that's the only problem that I wish they would change. But great match, definitely longer than I thought. And to the timing thing, I feel like every week they talk about their overtime, but every episode on WWE Network is like the same amount of time. So I don't know if it really is that far over time or what, but I never noticed it being any longer. It would surprise me if
they always just run over, but they're constantly running 10 minutes. Like Raw right now always runs over the 11 o'clock hour, and that's just a standard thing. Yeah.
I gave it 2 3/4 stars. I really liked the match. I kind of going to echo the same things Kaiser said. I would have ranked this higher if Randy Savage actually finished the match with the elbow drop and actually pinned Sting, giving him that momentum going into Spring Stampede.
Yeah, I thought
I think that would have told a better story.
Yep.
I think we would all rated it 4 if that happened, right?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I will say this: if this match ended clean as the main event on Thunder, our first one yet, and told that story going into Spring Stampede, I may not have given it a 4, but I bet you I'm talking 3 to 3.5.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. This would have been. I mean, once again, that's only a half star more than we had already given it. So I think a 3 to a 3 1/4, 3.5 is not asking for too much.
No.
But once again, I guess you don't want either team going into the pay-per-view looking weak, but I don't think that's a weak ending.
Not at all. He hits him with a cast and hits his elbow with a cast too. Yeah, no, absolutely
right.
not.
That's some cowboy Bob Orton bullshit right there. So I was fine with it. So yeah, the cast angle would have been an interesting one. But I get the DQ. I was definitely I think we all agree at some point during the match it was good enough that we're like, this ends in a DQ. It's disappointing, but it's not a throwaway.
Right, absolutely. Of course, after the match, NWO is all going to be out there. They're shoving each other. Hogan and Nash are getting separated. That's our show. We're heading to Spring Stampede. What'd you guys think about this go-home show for Thunder?
I thought it was good. 10 times better than last week. Good Lord knows that. But I feel like the Thursdays before pay-per-views are always great. A lot of stars, other than I think Ric Flair, and I think Flair's probably the biggest person I know that we haven't seen
gone
much
at this
lately.
point. Remember, because
is he?
He no-showed that promo recently.
So is he out
and
of
he's
WCW?
There's like
then?
lawsuits going on. He's probably
under contract.
Under contract, but you won't see him for some time.
Oh wow! I didn't realize that. Wow. Okay. But no, yeah, I honestly thought it was really good. Definitely up there towards the top of the Thunders we've seen.
Honestly, I thought this was a very good Thunder. I thought it was a good blend of decent matches. There were promos all over the place, and I also felt like it was good enough where I felt like I didn't have to watch Nitro, but also didn't take away from the actual Thunder show. Like I think a couple of times we just felt like Thunder was just a glorified Nitro recap, where I think this actually had a good balance between the two. I really enjoyed the Booker T Ric Flair match, which is something I didn't think I would say, knowing that was going to be a match I was going to watch. And most importantly, I enjoyed the main event. It was something that's, once again, it's the big show before the main event. That's not Saturday night. So I feel like it is on them to do something big and interesting and exciting to end Thunder, and they did a very good job with it. But still, I'm just curious about a couple of things real quick. And Kaiser, I know you're going to give your thoughts, but I have a couple questions about what happened to Dusty Rhodes being in the NWO. Did he go away with Scott Hall? The martial arts division that they were talking about doing, that lasted, a solid 2 shows. And I've also been paying attention to Goldberg's win-loss record, and so far the dude's averaging 9 wins a week. So I just thought that was a little bit weird. The last 3 weeks he's been averaging 9 wins.
He is he's definitely racking up the wins very quickly. Don't know where Dusty's at. I think the martial arts division lasted 1 episode, and they realized that was a bad
It's like the
idea.
Cruiserweight tournament.
As for me, I thought it was a well-done show. I always grade go-home shows a little bit tougher, and I thought they did well. They told a lot of good stories. I mean, they pushed pretty much everything in some aspect or another. U.S. title might have been the weakest, but they showed a bunch of promos to kind of build the anticipation up. And, of course, we've got Goldberg with his first title match on Monday. So they really sold a lot. They sold me on Spring Stampede. They sold me on Nitro next week. So, overall, a good show. And as we kind of wrap things up for the week, what are you guys most anticipating or looking forward to at Spring Stampede 1998? Don't all shout at once, man.
Here's my, not to spend a lot of time on it. I know there's a lot of like NWO changes and people join and leave, and I don't know when they happen. So that's what I'm always curious to see is who does what. That's my big thing.
I'm most curious about where Sting's going to be in the next couple of weeks, because right now he is kind of in the shuffle, which is weird because he's the world champion. He should be front and center, and he is 100% not. So I'm also, and we've talked about this before, I think maybe off air, Kaiser, but I think there's been 2 other situations where Macho Man has gone into a match like injured, like either legitimately or been hit by a car, and he usually always wins. So I'm very curious. I'm going to watch Spring Stampede. I want to see if the dude's like 3 or 4-0 in matches where he comes in like as a broken corpse, and see if he actually wins the title. Because if he does, then I think that actually throws even Sting more into obscurity, which is once again a real big bummer. So, and I don't know what happens. I do know a couple months from now where the world title picture kind of is.
Right.
And I'm just curious if this happens now or later. And so that's what I'm very interested in the world title coming up.
Fair enough. And I have to agree. I'm curious about the Bat match and exactly like you said.
Literally no one said
Macho
that.
Man.
You're the only one who said
the Bat match, I'm curious because of the whole Hogan Nash NWO aspect of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I get you.
If you're curious, go check out Spring Stampede. Go watch the Thunder, the April 22nd, the special Wednesday edition of Thunder. Of course, we will be dropping our episode on Thursday as normal. Go check them out, and we'll be right back here next week. If you haven't subscribed to us yet on, Google Play, iTunes, whatever your podcast listening device of choice is, go do that. Follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and you can always, of course, go to thundercrafts.com for all of our social media accounts, past episodes, and all that other fun jazz. For Josh Haddix and Kyle Hoagland, I am Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thundercrafts podcast.
Have a good Thursday.
Take care.